Hey, what's up, people? So, real quick, gonna have a quick conversation with y'all. Lately, I've been scrolling through a lot of things on Facebook and seeing a lot of issues that a lot of people have, and it's just kind of funny. Not funny like haha funny, but ironic funny. Um, the simple things that are overlooked. I think a lot of the problem is um, there was no bridge to gap the generations, and for whatever reason we had this change. We had this whole change that went on in the last 10 years, I'd say. And the things that were foundational principles uh, 10 15 years ago are not today, not by younger folks. And some older folks are adopting it too. Usually those are the ones that are easily influenced, the older folks I'm talking about. um, and it's causing a lot of relationship woes and problems, and people to have hard times uh, finding love, or at least just a relationship for right now, if love comes later on down the thing. So a couple of things that I did. So I'll speak from personal experience. I've been married for 16 years, dated for 3.5 years, and been married ever since. Got 4 kids. No outside children, no crazy stuff. Um, haven't been through a whole lot. I've been through a lot of things, relationship wise, me and my wife, but we fought through them together. And let me tell you, uh, first thing is there are a lot of women that don't feel like men have feelings. And because they feel like men don't have feelings, they have a hard time understanding when a man begins to express those feelings. They take it as weak. They can take it as you're soft, or you're too emotional, and you're not going to be you can't protect me, you can't do this, you can't do that, because you have feelings. Now, men, people period, have feelings. Some people are a little more emotional than others. And one of the things that I had to learn in the dating process when I was dating my wife is that it was okay for me to get out those feelings, because had I not got out those feelings, then she wouldn't know if she can deal with me. She wouldn't know if she could deal with my feelings, me laying those things out on the table. Now, she had to be receptive, not only to the feelings, but also visually receptive to watch and see if what I'm saying out of my mouth matches my actions. And they did. Just because I can express my feelings and talk about my emotions, and have weak, vulnerable moments with her, doesn't mean that I can't protect and provide and love. Um, and I didn't come from a well structured household. That's I think that's pretty much all of us from a certain generation. Now you got to keep in mind that I am 35 years old, so I grew up in the 90s, right? And I don't think there's not a friend that I have that had the total package, the mom, the dad, and all of that stuff. And even if you did have a mom and a dad, or a mom or a dad there, if they weren't totally present, it didn't matter anyways. And the way the society made it is so that you couldn't survive on little pieces of money. So you would have single mothers out there working long, grueling hours, or maybe two jobs. You would have two parents in the household, but both of them had to work. So you were a latchkey kid at the age of 10 and 12 years old, things like that. And all of these things, all these factors play a part when you get older and you begin to date, because a lot of the things that you hold true as values and stuff like that, if you weren't taught and you were just visually learning these things, they come from the environment that you were in. So when you switch environments for whatever reason, job purposes, or you just want to change up the scenery, the people that you come in contact with won't be from the same background. That causes issues. So now you can be from the ghetto and move to a nicer neighborhood, and you're around all of these females that are from that nicer neighborhood, and they have no idea of your mindset. So to them, you may be weak, to them, you may be soft, or to them, you may be overly aggressive, or they may make assumptions about you and things of this nature. But that's something you'll have to deal with. So back to the topic at hand, just giving you some tips and some pointers, some things that help me out along the way. Um, one of the things was to never become romantically involved in the person with the person that you're dating until later on down the line. It took me and my wife about 8 months, 8, 9 months before we first got physical. And the reason was because the friendship was so good that I didn't want to mess up the friendship, and I knew that having sex at that point early on, even though we both wanted it, would mess up the relationship that we were trying to cultivate. Because after that, you can't just be friends. There's no way to do that. So you have to enjoy a person's friendship first before anything. If you're gonna, be vetting that person to see if that's a person that you want to be with long-term relationships. Now, if you're just in the casual dating, bouncing back and forth between different dudes or different women, then yeah, this kind of ain't your alley. But if you're looking for a relationship long term and you're trying to, settle down with somebody and stuff like that, then these are some of the things that you need to know. Uh, um, you need to know that the person that you're interested in, there has to be a connection with that person, and it cannot be solely physical. You can't look at somebody and be like, oh my goodness, she's beautiful or he's handsome, I'm gonna go talk to them. And then as you're talking to them, you're still infatuated with their look, with their aesthetics of the situation, and you never really get to know that person. And then when you find out about that person, then you're like, oh, they're this, they're that. But a lot of the stuff you cause on yourself. About 99% of the things that you go through in life is your fault or your decision, your choice. So you have to change that about yourself. And if you're attracting a certain type of person, you really got to take a step back and figure out what it is in you that is attracting that other person. I don't care what nobody tells you. Like energies attract each other. They will. Opposites attract, but you can tell the opposites almost instantaneously if you're really looking for a good relationship. People can't hide but so much. But if you're infatuated, then you can't see what's going on. So you need to tone down the infatuation and start looking at people for who they are on the inside than rather than looking at them for how aesthetically pleasing they are. One thing that I learned, because I was in the military too. One thing that we learned in the military about dieting is that it is solely in your mind. It's mental. So you can look at a piece of food and psych yourself out for that thing to taste nasty. Well, it goes both ways. You can psych yourself out for that person to be so beautiful, to you, and to the public they're not. But beauty is an eye of the beholder, right? So if you're worried about public perception when you're with this person and you want to be a good looking couple to everybody else, then you're not going to find true love. It's not going to happen until that person is beautiful to you and you only, and you don't care about what other people think about whether or not that person is ugly. Then you're not going to find true love. You're not going to be in a long-term relationship. It's just not going to happen, because there's always somebody out there that's going to think that your mate is terrible. She's the one. She can't do this and she doesn't look like this, and they make all these snap judgments just based off of visual, and that is like the totally wrong thing to do. Um, and really, that's all I have for right now. And we're gonna start this thing out slow. I'll probably make it like a 2 or 3 part little quick series just to kind of get you to understand that a lot of these things that dating coaches and relationship experts are giving you, it's really based in falsehood. It's based in narcissism. It really is. And you got to understand that you can't have a pleasing relationship unless you're giving 100% of yourself to that person and they're giving it back to you. If they're not giving you back 100% and you know that it's because you can feel it, then you need to, take a step back and evaluate whether or not that person deserves your 100% because they're not giving it back. And there is no 50-50. There's 100-100. That means everything. That means good and bad comes along with this stuff because you're always going to go through some issues in the relationship. Maybe not with each other, but you may go through some things together. And if you find out that that person not willing to stick with you when things get rough, then there's no need to be with them. Not long term, anyways. So those are a couple of the things. I'll touch on some other things later. I usually talk on my Perspective Wisdom podcast on Anchor. So if you want to slide over there, that would be neat too. Thank y'all. Have a good day.